Welcome back to the Ignore the Template podcast. Do I really need to do the intro? You already know what the deal is. We are reviewing Gameweek 27, aka weekly dose of cope. Is that what we're calling it now at this point? Now that just the red arrows just keep coming. That's what I'll call it. Weekly dose of cope. Hopefully this episode helps you cope with your potentially terrible score like I got. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Let's get into it. So I guess on the bright side, Live FPL got a nice little makeover. I think if anybody who works on it is listening, it did a great job. Love the website. Hate the score. I am on livefpl.net and I am looking at the screen that says I need 7 more points for a green arrow, aka a 7-point red arrow. Looks like we've got a few more little displays to look at and how bad I did. Template rating 78%. I'm not ignoring the template, am I? Okay, let's just run through the team, how I did, and I can see that it was kind of a crap week for probably everybody, looking at how my differentials were terrible. My threats also relatively terrible in the grand scheme of things outside of João Pedro, but Smalasar, 2-pointer, Senesi, who I had to bring in for an injured Lacroix, so went from catastrophic, considering they kept the clean sheet, to a clean sheet plus a yellow card. The problem with that yellow card, for anybody who also has Senesi, he is now on 8. So if he gets 10 before game week 32, I think it is, he gets a 2-game ban. Not ideal for a player that I need, that I brought in specifically for game week 31. So while it's somewhat unlikely that he gets 2 more yellow cards from now until game week 31 when I need him, it's totally possible he goes and gets 2 yellow cards in the next, whatever, how much is that, 4 matches? So unlikely, but not outside the realms of possibility. I would have felt better if he didn't get a yellow card, and that would have been a 6, maybe a bonus point or whatever, but was not to be. Again, this is cope. Mukiele, injured in the 12th minute, hooked. And while they didn't go on to keep the clean sheet, I think they probably had a better chance of getting a clean sheet with Mukiele on the pitch. So overall, not great. And also considering he was another player that I need for game week 31, we'll be watching his progress closely to see how bad the injury is. Then moving into the threats, as I said, you could tell everyone had probably a pretty bad to meh week when the biggest threat to my rank got a 7-pointer. So a lot of people have him, but are they going to be overwhelmed by a 7-pointer? Not so much. Likewise, Semenya with 4 points, Rogers with 2, Chalaba with 2, Palmer with 3. Hooked before, no, he got past the 60 minutes and he kept the clean sheet point, but an early sub, not ideal, but it was always going to be a likely thing with Palmer, considering they're going to be managing his injuries and whatnot. So not great from Palmer. Gehi, 2-pointer, Jurian Timber, 3-pointer. Not a good week. I wonder what the average, I didn't even look at what the average score was, but it has to be below 60 points. 1000%, I would bet the house on that. But probably like 50 points? I don't know. I didn't look. And elsewhere on the screen that we could see, and on my team, overall 41 points. Not great. Pretty rotten. Was a rotten game week. I knew that going into it. I didn't have a lot of players who had good fixtures, if that makes sense. I don't even know if I'm speaking English at this point. There were a lot of players that I was fearful of getting mega hauls, so I anticipated a red arrow, as I mentioned on the previous podcast, but I was just being optimistic and hoping one of my guys has to return, surely. And looking at the screen, I got a return from Senesi, a return from Mbumo, can you call Rice's return a return? Defensive contributions. And I got a return from Holland, who I captained. But they were all like nothing. They meant nothing because the only players who did anything were players that everyone has. And then, yeah, all of the other players just did absolutely nothing. So it was bound to be a red arrow in hindsight. And even before a ball was kicked, it looked not so good. I guess it could have been worse in hindsight. Like if we go back to the differentials, probably a bit lucky that Palmer didn't get a return. Semenyo, Gehi, Rogers, especially playing leads, just absolutely a nothing burger from him. Chalaba losing the clean sheet in the last minute. So I guess some green shoots, but overall, it's just my players that I have had have not been performing, and that's FPL. It does happen. So what else can I say? It was a bad week. And I don't know if this is going to be a regular occurrence, but the content on Reddit this week, especially immediately after Gameweek27 kind of had its fallout, it just resonated with me. So I'm just going to read some posts. I've pulled up some tabs on the FPL subreddit, and it's so accurate. The most FPL season of FPL to ever happen, Gameweek27. I think there's a post every single week like this, but I think this one really hits home. So FPL heritage as Palmer blanks against Burnley and Chelsea lose their clean sheet in the 93rd minute. Cal Pedro, love that name, although it's not that clever. O'Reilly getting 2 goals after basically everyone had sold him because his rotation and not returning and doing well. Of course, that's classic FPL. I'm not going to read this name, this foul language. But Eze in particular and Gyökeres show up at the North London Derby, and Declan Rice puts on a circus act. We need to talk about the North London Derby because I've got lots of opinions on that one. But yeah, absolutely awful. All of the players everyone has from Arsenal did terrible. All the players that they don't have did great. Classic. Van Dijk gets the most questionable haul I've ever seen. Squirts injured in warm-up. Ekitike and no salad, both absolutely hopeless without him. So true. I'll take this moment just to talk about the Liverpool game. As a resident Liverpool fan, wow, were Liverpool so lucky. The first half, it could have been 3-0 to Forest. I feel like I'm only exaggerating slightly for dramatic effect. Of course, there were 2 goals in like the final minute from McAllister, and they ended up winning. The first one disallowed. I'm just gonna let that sit because I obviously didn't agree. I don't agree with the rule. I know the rule, and by the rule, it is correct. It was correctly disallowed, but I mean, he turns his back and he gets the ball blasted at him. What is he supposed to do? So, anyways, yeah, Liverpool kind of stole 3 points there from Forest. I thought Forest looked really good, honestly. They were creating a ton of chances. I will, after I go through all the Reddit posts, look at the underlying data because it did not look good for Arsenal. It did not look good for Liverpool. Very lucky to get 3 points. I think even a draw would have been kind of fortunate, like looking at the entire landscape of the match, because Forest just really put Liverpool to the sword. But moving on. Stadium Light is a tough game. I'll bench my Fulham assets. Yeah, a classic. Dean Henderson resuscitates Palace's clean sheet, and Munoz gets DEFCON to the death. This one specifically hurts considering that Lacroix gets the back injury. I have to pull him out. Yeah, just sucks. Bruno Yornandez gets 2 points and 0 DEFCON. So much for that old £9 CDM a few months ago. Baldo assists. Tarkovsky plays haram ball. Officially 6 months until Game Week 1 deadline. Jesus. And the next post just absolutely perfectly sums up my feelings. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the moral of the story is this young poster, maybe young, maybe old, I don't know. Professional_box 4126, shout out, is basically expressing that sets the team up perfectly, watches the pressers and analyzes the underlying data. It's got maybe a spreadsheet, who knows. And then, of course, it just completely all goes to shit. And then you could probably have a random number generator or something, just picking a completely random team that could probably outscore you. Because the unfortunate thing about FPL is that it is highly, highly reliant on luck and fine margins. And it's crazy how a terrible week can change into like the best week ever based on millimeters or a slight deflection or a combination of just random nonsense. And that's, I think a lot of it is because there's very few things that can score you points on FPL. I think I like the addition of defensive contributions, but the scaling of the points is terrible. The pricing is terrible. I think there are probably too many chips, although the chips could just be better in general, better configured. I think it's probably okay. I think most people probably like that you get 2 of every chip. I'm not in that camp personally. I think I won't go. I could rant about this forever, but what I'm trying to say is that FPL is not set up for people who really are dedicated to the game, want to like do well, just because there's way too much random nonsense, and the game is not set up to reward. It's not a meritocracy. The people who win FPL, I always find very hilarious. Like one year, the guy who won like wrote a book on like how to win it. Bro, come on. You physically cannot win FPL without an insane amount of luck. It's like getting struck by lightning 38 weeks in a row. Yeah. So, and all you have to do to prove that is look through a winner's team and go through week by week, and it's completely, there's no coherent thought on how they like pick a team and what it's like picking a name out of a hat. They probably could have done and have won FPL. It's just that random. So I will shut up and go to the next post. I'm sorry if I offended any previous FPL winners, but let's be honest, this game is highly reliant on luck. And if you cannot admit that winning or doing well in FPL heavily relies on just great fortune, players not getting hurt, ridiculous hauls, players overperforming, jumping on a price rise, things like that, there's so many factors and layers of luck. I've done pretty well in FPL. I'm the first to admit that it is very luck based. And speaking of, let's take this moment to talk about the North London Derby, because this post highlight, and it's an official tweet from the FPL Twitter account or X account, whatever. Eberiche Eze has earned more points in Gameweek 27 than every previous game week combined since he last returned. Gameweek 27, 14 points. Gameweek 13 through 26, 11 points. The person who wins FPL probably brought Eze in this week. Just clip that, please. And speaking of luck, this post perfectly highlights what I'm trying to say. Official tweet by the FPL Twitter account, official Twitter or X account. Eberiche Eze has earned more points in Game Week 27 than every previous game week combined since he last returned. Game Week 27, 14 points. Game Week 13 through 26, 11 points. Watch this. Watch the winner of FPL. I will guarantee that he brought in Eze this game week. You can clip that up because it's going to be some random thing like that. But talk about low probability scores just completely jumping off the page. But yeah, this will be my opportunity to talk about the North London Derby because this is my soapbox. I make no money from it, and hopefully you like listening to my commentary. But I absolutely love the game, honestly. Some people were, I watched Mark Goldbridge. I thought he had some good points, but he basically was saying how Tottenham didn't play very well. I thought they played very well, honestly. I thought up until the very controversial call, which I think most people would probably agree that should have been a goal for Moani. Kolo Moani scored that one where there was like a feather on Gabriel's back, and he went off the 10-foot high dive. But I thought the match was pretty electric, and especially given the lineup that Spurs had. Like, talk about a championship lineup. Like, that team looked so bad. They had Archie Gray playing wing back. They had like Conor Gallagher playing like a winger. There was so much more Paulinia, I think, was playing center back. I know that there's one that I'm missing out that was just like diabolical, but given the lineup and how bad it was and how many injuries and all that, I'm not making excuses for Tottenham because I couldn't really care less. I think it would be hilarious if they went down, but given the lineup and the context, I thought they played really well and like matched up to Arsenal very well up until that controversial decision. And while I still think that Arsenal would have gone on to score more goals, and I think inevitably Arsenal were going to be the better team that match, I will say I don't know 100% if that's how it would have gone. Like, I cannot confidently say that that's how it would have gone if the goal would have stood and it would have been 2-2 at that point in the game. I think tactics change when a goal goes in like that, going 2-2 in a derby. So anything could have happened, but I think the game was killed by the referee, unfortunately. And I will say that with all that being said, I still think that the most likely thing for me, even if the goal would have stood, Arsenal probably would have gone on to score a third, maybe not a fourth, maybe it would have ended 3-2. They probably would have won, but there's definitely way more. It was left way more in the balance when the game would have been 2-2 is what I'm trying to say. Oh, and let's quickly talk about Arsenal because I thought they were amazing too. I thought overall the match was very high quality, and again, like for Spurs, especially given their context. But yeah, I don't know if it was because I watched the entire Crystal Palace Wolves match that nearly put me to sleep. The Liverpool Forest match wasn't any better, leading right up to the North London Derby, but yeah, I thought the game had a lot of quality. I thought there were good chances on both sides. Xavi Simons looked amazing. Yeah, I thought Spurs played it tactically perfect, and I don't think they could have done any better. But Arsenal were just like, it's crazy. Everyone has been said, like, this is not knowledge, but Arteta has built in this team like the slowest buildup of all time, and then you buy players who are very good in when the tempo is much higher and playing in transition, like Eze, like Gyökeres, aka Groceries. It's hilarious when they turn the tempo up like one tiny degree, and these players that are really good in transition play amazingly. So for Arsenal fans, they're probably just hopefully screaming at Arteta to be like, turn the tempo up, like, let's move the ball quicker, have a playing style that's slightly more risky above like the most conservative Stoke, Chelsea 04. That I don't want to talk bad on Chelsea 04. They were a very good overall team, but you know what I'm trying to say, defense first, just turgid at times when you have so much talent in the squad. Undeniably the best squad in the Premier League. So yeah, I thought the game was great. Match of the week, I think, for me, unless I'm missing an obvious one. Overall, I thought this game week was pretty rotten, but this one was a highlight. And then I'll just round up the Gameweek27 cope by going through some of the posts that just like highlight all the nonsense, some of the nonsense that went on. So Mukiele, 12th minute, Florian Wirtz injured in warm up, Harry Wilson, I didn't actually realize that. I kind of forgot I pulled that one up. Harry Wilson, DEFCON within the first half. What? And I can't get defensive contributions from any of my players, let alone my defenders. And Harry Wilson, of all people, gets DEFCON against Sunderland. Okay, let's keep the cope train running, and we're going to turn over to Understat and take a look at some of the overperformers and underperformers of the week. And it is no surprise that it looks like the biggest overperformer, if not definitely up there, has to be. Let's take a look. 0.94. Yeah, no, he is. Am I missing any? Okay, yeah, no, he is the biggest. Nico O'Reilly, the top point scorer of the week with 17, with a 17 pointer. The biggest overperformer this game week with 2 goals from 0.46 XG. Curious how many shots he took over the entire game. It probably was 2, because I thought that one was a pretty high probability location, his second one. But Gyökeres quickly following up with 2 goals from 0.59. And then I think yeah. Oh, no. I take that back. Some of the guys who only scored 1 goal were the biggest overperformers as well. Lewis Hall, a goal from 0.06. I think a lot of people that I'm competing with have Lewis Hall. Lucky bastards. Diego Gomez took his goal well, but a goal from 0.08 XG. Absolutely insane. Kolo Muani, goal from 0.08, but probably should have been 2 goals from 0.58 maybe. I don't know. It was a very high quality chance. He was like on the goal line basically when he scored that. Anton Stack, no surprises there. The absolute worldie. Got a goal from 0.09. Tammy Abraham, a goal from 0.13. And then from there, kind of dips. It's big overperformances from Raul Jimenez and Eberiche Eze, who, wow, 1.21 XG, scoring 2 goals. Yeah, I kind of was not expecting his XG to be that high, but he played amazing. So, yeah, maybe I'm just dumb. But, yeah, Gasson from Crystal Palace, goal from 0.35 XG. And then in terms of underperformers, it has to be that guy. The guy who missed the Wolves penalty, Tolu, never heard of you. I'm sorry, but that was one of the worst penalties I have ever seen. It was like a P roller, slightly off center to the right. I mean, bro, Henderson could have dove again and gotten up, and then calmly walked to the ball before it would have crossed the line. It was such a bad penalty. Bukayo Saka, pretty big underperformer as well, 0.87 with nothing to bring home. Yeah, I thought he was great as well for what it's worth. Another player who I think does really well on transition when the ball is played at a slightly quicker tempo. Played really well. Callum Wilson, big underperformer. João Pedro, kind of surprising to me, I guess, but he did underperform by 0.53 with 1.53 XG and only the 1 goal. But yeah, doing well there. Let's see, anybody else? Who do I have that underperformed? Mbumo didn't get anything from 0.69. Nice. Cole Palmer, just to take a little side note, I thought Cole Palmer played so well. That was one where I was like kind of hiding behind the couch. Like from an eye test standpoint, I'm kind of surprised his XG was that low, because I thought like it just felt like he was pummeling the Burnley Dubravka, I guess. Erling Haaland underperformed. Marmoush underperformed. I don't have Marmoush, but who else? let me just pull out some more of my guys that underperformed. Ismail Assar, come on, brother. It feels like whenever I have Ismail Assar, and I've talked him up every podcast since Game Week 1. And I've only ever not had him when he's gotten injured for me, which he's done, I think, multiple times at this point. Yeah, 0.42, nothing. Tiago, another good game with another blank, very upsetting. 0.37 XG with nothing to show for it. Semenyo, I'm glad he blanked. But apart from that, then it gets kind of more mild. So let's move it along. That was enough cope. Let's take a look at how the free hit scout team did. Not good. And I honestly don't know what I was thinking. Like, I don't even care to review the footage because I copy and pasted this team on the Discord. So there's evidence that I thought that was a good team. But Lacroix was injured and I knew there was a chance he wasn't going to play. Why did I even start him in my free hit team? I think I wanted to give out money this week. Also, I captained Gabriel. I mentioned captaincy nowhere on the video, I don't think. So I probably would have captained Palmer, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't have captained Gabriel. So the difference would have not really mattered at all. But yeah, that was bad. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I feel like I probably had a brain aneurysm or something because like I was guaranteeing myself that I wasn't going to get top points with Captain Gabriel. And on top of that, I played Lacroix when I could have just played Richards instead. Basically the same thing. He would have gotten the clean sheet. And I still think I lost by a larger margin than that, but it was just doomed from the beginning. And for reference, this was the official FPL scout team. Wasn't very good either, let's be honest. Basically, their only points came from João Pedro, who I didn't pick, who I probably should have picked. But I think I knew I was going to lose this one anyways. But yeah, bad luck on Mukiele, who I have on my team. So yeah, but overall, they had the better team. Their team scored more points. Let me pull up the totals. And as always, it was this many to this many. Maybe a YouTube exclusive. But no, that's 34 points to 42 points. My team was terrible. I can't believe it actually even did worse than my actual team. That goes a long way. The official FPL scout team slightly beat my own team, which is nothing to write home about because I suck too. So yeah, 42 points for the official FPL scout team. Well, it was just a bad week. So because I lost, that means you win. I probably should have worked something like that into the tagline of this whole competition, which has a terrible name and it takes forever to describe. But for anybody who's tuning in for the first time, I put together a free hit team that goes up against the official FPL scout team every single week. If my team, my free hit team, loses to the official FPL scout team, then I pay out $10 to the mini league top performer of the week. And this week, however, total score of 80 points for Gameweek27, absolutely obliterating me and everybody else for that matter in the mini league. The next highest point score was 63 points. So 17 more points in the game week. Played the bench boost. And if I'm being completely honest, Petrovic on the bench, getting 9 points from Petrovic on the bench and Henderson 16 pointer, getting that many points from only goalkeepers is a feat within its own. But yeah, with Rodgers, although would Rodgers have actually been on your bench? I'm going to cross my arms and squint my eyes because I'm questioning whether some of these players would have actually been on your bench. And maybe Rodgers is the only one. But you did play Van de Ven at a North London derby. Erroneous. I say Rodgers should have been in for Van de Ven and it would have made your bench weaker. Suck it. Take that. Dennis Maina, who won the competition, and I owe $10. And congratulations, your team absolutely crushed it. 80 points. Ridiculous. You doubled my score. So absolutely amazing. Hit me up on Discord or Reddit, or contact me somehow. Send a carrier pigeon, and we'll converse so I can confirm it is actually you, and we can arrange the payment. But $10 will be going your way through PayPal or Cash App. Hit me up. And that is going to do it for the podcast today. There will be another episode that comes out before the Gameweek 28 deadline, which will kind of plan, and it won't be so filled with copium. But yeah, subscribe to get it right into your feed so that you don't need some sort of notification or ring the bell or whatever it is. But yeah, I will have a podcast out before Gameweek 28. Since the Game Week deadline is on Friday afternoon for me, Eastern Time, dumb American, freedom units. But yeah, that means I'll probably record on either Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how I'm feeling. So probably record on Wednesday, Thursday, podcast likely to be out Thursday or Friday. Stay tuned. I'll try to announce whenever I'm recording on the Discord, but until then, if you have any questions, whatever that you want answered on the podcast, feel free to hit me up on Discord. And otherwise, hope you had a good week. Hope it wasn't as bad as mine. Probably wasn't, because my week was pretty rotten with 41. But yeah, I'll see you next podcast. Bye.